Hello, everybody. All right. Hi, everybody. For everyone joining right now, welcome to this webinar event. We're going to get started here momentarily. I'm going to be checking our YouTube channel to make sure that I can look for any comments you guys may be dropping us, any questions. We have a very fun program scheduled for you guys today. Some great information, not just about the MUN Institute, but introducing some other individuals of the Model United Nations Institute team. And we also have a very special guest who will be joining us in about 20-30 minutes, who I'm super excited to be having a conversation with. So if you guys just sit tight as we get situated here, we will begin very shortly. All right, you guys should hopefully be able to see my screen right about now. See our presentation. You guys can also see that I am currently checking out our live stream. So for any of you guys joining us right now, we will be taking questions towards the end of this presentation, the end of this webinar. So if you guys are around, we would love to hear you guys' questions. And give me just 1 minute as we get situated here. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to this webinar, Meet the MUN Institute team. Again, if you guys want to get any additional information, here is a super cool photo of us looking at our own website. Talk about being self-aware. Visit MUN.bestdelegate.com if you would like to learn more about the MUN Institute or about Best Delegate in general. I'd like to start things off by introducing myself. My name is Aaron Kalifarski. I'm currently a program manager for Best Delegate. I started working with Best Delegate over 4 summers ago with their summer programs. Since that time, I've worked with them on the Best Delegate blog as the editor-in-chief. I've had the pleasure of staffing conferences with the team at the United Nations. And I've also had the pleasure of working in multiple different capacities, including being a program manager for this past summer for the MUN Institute, among other things. But to start things off, I did start my Model UN journey way back in the day as a sophomore in high school, which seems like just about forever ago. But when I did start off my Model UN journey, I didn't know that much about what the activity of Model UN was. I didn't know the journey I was about to embark on or the skills I was about to learn. And I was really fortunate that putting myself into this activity as a sophomore in high school really helped me get out of my shell as a high school student, really inspired me to see some of the world. And since the time whenever I started as a sophomore, I've since attended over 50 Model UN conferences around the United States, around North America, and even the world. And so whenever I got into university, I was inspired by Model United Nations, thinking about complex issues like international security, climate change, poverty, so on and so forth, that I decided to major in political science at the University of Florida, where I would go on to become the Secretary General of my Model United Nations team for the University of Florida, running the largest conference in the southeastern United States for high school students. And it also inspired me upon my graduation to not just continue practicing Model UN, but to see some of the world. And so in this bottom right-hand picture here, you can see me kind of in a monkey face. This is taken in Seoul, South Korea, where I spent my last year living and teaching English to 4-year-olds all the way up to the age of 30 years old. So children adolescents and adults. It was a great experience to see a different part of the world, learn about a different culture, and really envelop some of the skills that Model United Nations embodies in the real world. But after working in Korea for about a year, my true calling for Model United Nations Best Delegate came about. I had the opportunity to join them full-time, so here I am today. And I'm super excited to tell you guys of what you can expect for today's presentation, as well as what you can expect for the MUN Institute. So first of all, we're going to talk about the company, what it means MUN for all. We're going to talk about the MUN Institute team, as well as the MUN Institute. And then around 8 o'clock, we're also going to be having Ibrahim join us, who's one of our program managers for this summer. And we'll be having a brief conversation for all you guys to listen to. And if anybody has any questions, then I encourage you guys to drop those questions in the live stream right now, or anytime throughout this presentation, and we will get to them towards the end of this. Also, we do have a special discount code for any of you guys listening right now who want to save $50 on attending this webinar. If you enroll by May 29th, which is this Memorial Day, then just enter the coupon code WEBBY2017 when you're checking out. You get $50 off. I'm going to be repeating this again at the end of the presentation, but I want to make sure anyone who's here early has the opportunity to take advantage of this $50 discount code, so don't miss out on it, guys. So to start things off, I want to talk about Best Delegate as an organization, as well as the MUN Institute. And just so you guys are aware, Best Delegate as a company was founded in 2007, but before that started off as just a blog by our co-founder, one of our co-founders, Ryan Villanueva. Company in 2010 was then founded by Ryan Villanueva and Kevin Felix Chan, who we'll be talking about just briefly in just a moment. And at first, they started doing international workshops around the world before we actually started doing our summer programs called the Model United Nations Institute. But since Ryan and Kevin started traveling around the world, visiting over hundreds of different conferences, they decided that we needed to impart a lot of the wisdom that they had taken from their Model UN journeys throughout the year and give it back to the general public and help this organization, this activity, Model United Nations, grow and spread. And so one of our guiding missions and vision for Best Delegate is Model United Nations for all. And we've seen a huge growth in Model UN over the past few years especially. And part of that, we hope, is in thanks to our summer programs. Last year, we had over 730 students at our programs. And we've, since 2010, taught in over 28 different countries. And we're hoping to continue to expand our reach as an organization and hopefully bring Model UN as an activity to as many people as possible. And so what I'm going to go over in just a minute is also different individuals on the MUN Institute team. I'm going to be introducing some of our full-time employees, our co-founders, as well as the summer staff that you guys are going to be interacting with this summer before getting into, again, more information about what skills the MUN Institute is going to be focusing on this summer. If you guys see this photo right here, you can see some of our diplomacy fellows, MUN mentors, and residential counselors from this past year, 2016. We have a bunch of them coming back, and I'm super excited to be introducing you to some of them just in a bit. So to start things off, we have our two executive directors of the MUN Institute and the two co-founders of Best Delegate. On the left, you have Kevin Felix Chan, or KFC, and on the right, you have Ryan Villanueva. Now, they started their Model UN journey years and years ago and have since attended hundreds of Model UN conferences. I'm not going to go into their entire backstory. It's a fantastic and really interesting story for how they went from high school to university to joining the corporate world and beyond to founding Best Delegate. There's some great articles on them, and I'll be posting that in the description of this video below if you guys want to learn more about Ryan and Kevin. And I'd love to share more. Just to give you guys a brief overview, however, Ryan Villanueva on the right, he went to Yale University. And after graduating from Yale University, he ended up going to work on Wall Street at Goldman Sachs. And he had to work through the 2008 financial crisis. And after working on Wall Street and taking some time and moments to self-reflect on his life, he decided that he wanted to bring this activity, Model United Nations, that had made an impact on his life, and turn it into a business and turn it into something where he could give back to the community, which allowed him, along with Kevin Felix Chan in 2010, to form Best Delegate and take on this project full-time. Kevin Felix Chan, on the other hand, attended UCLA. After he graduated, he would go work for AT&T. Story. Around the same time that Ryan Villanueva was interested in founding the company, they had been longtime friends and they had been discussing the idea. And so once they got together, they decided they wanted to do Model UN full-time and they wanted to really help bring this activity to as many people as possible. And you're going to be meeting just a few of those people in just a minute, or at least I'll be introducing you to some of those people in just a minute. And so here are our program directors for this summer. So for anyone who's going to be attending the MUN Institute, for anyone who's going to be coming to the programs for our parent open houses on each Friday of our programs for this summer, you're going to be probably seeing these faces. You're definitely going to be seeing Eric's face in the top left. And just give you a brief overview of these four individuals. Eric is a recent graduate from The Ohio State University, where he studied world politics. He participated in Model UN for over 9 years, which culminated in serving as Secretary General for the Ohio State University Model UN and the Global Classrooms Middle School Model UN, GCI MUN. He's worked with Best Delegate since autumn 2014 and has taught Model UN in Italy, India, South Korea, Honduras, and across the United States. He's worked closely with the UN Department of Public Information and World Federation of United Nations Associations, teaching UN for MUN Model UN procedure and organizing Wafuna International Model United Nations, or YMUN, in addition to managing bestdelegate.com and many other Best Delegate projects. Now, Eric Leiden is going to be the primary program director at all of the different sites that we have offered this summer for the MUN Institute. So you'll definitely be seeing him if you're a parent or if you're a child who's going to be attending our summer programs or visiting us at any point. Now, throughout the summer, you may also see the three other people's faces up here. I already introduced myself in the bottom left as Aaron, but I'd love to briefly introduce Laura Beth and Kana and tell you guys a little bit about them. So in the top right-hand corner, we have Laura Beth Goldsmith. And Laura Beth is a recent graduate of Emory University, where she studied political science and community building and social change. Laura Beth started competing in Model United Nations her freshman year of high school and has gabbled numerous times at prestigious conferences around the country. She served as the president and head delegate of Emory Model United Nations, helping to enhance the team's training and bringing the team into the top 20 of nationally ranked teams. Laura Beth believes in the power of diplomacy and cross-cultural diversity and has traveled internationally teaching human rights and self-defense in North America, Asia, Africa, and Europe. Laura Beth's passion for Model United Nations was sparked by hearing Secretary General Ban Ki-moon speak in Washington, D.C. back in the day. And then on the bottom right, we have Kana Walsh. Kana's experience in Model UN began in 2007, where she joined the MUN team at her high school in Syracuse, New York. And after participating throughout her high school, Kana joined the Cornell International Affairs Society, their MUN team at Cornell University, where she served as director of training. She has also served as the chief of staff and director general for the Cornell Model United Nations Conference, CMUNC. Kana graduated from Cornell in 2015 with a degree in China and Asia Pacific Studies, and since then has been living and working in Boston. When she's not being a MUN fanatic, Kana enjoys exploring Massachusetts, attempting to learn how to cook, and listening to Bob Dylan. Having worked with Best Delegate in the past, she's thrilled to be working with us right now, and she's also excited for what this summer is to come, as I'm sure as everybody else is. All right. We also have some fantastic program managers this year. So on the top, we have Lala, and on the bottom left, we have Ibrahim. I'm not going to be introducing Ibrahim because he will be joining us on the call momentarily, and you'll be hearing directly from him. But what I would love to do really quick is I would love to introduce Lala and tell you a little bit about her. Lala is a student at Fordham University majoring in international studies and double minoring in international humanitarian affairs and Spanish. She has moved around many times, but one thing has remained constant in her life, Model UN. Walla has founded and led Model UN programs for both the high school and collegiate levels in different countries. In her 8th year of Model UN, she currently serves as the president of Fordham Model UN and Director General of Fordham University Model UN Conference for MUN. Walla is also an NGO youth representative to the United Nations, editor of the MUNI Alumni and Community Teams on Best Delegates Media Team, and a proud alumna of the MUN Institute. Furthermore, for anyone attending the MUN Institute this summer, you're going to be interacting directly with our MUN mentors and residential counselors. Now, I didn't put everyone's picture on this page because we just have too many awesome individuals to put up, but I did want to briefly say that our MUN mentors are going to be individuals from around the world, coming from some of the best universities around the world, where they're either the presidents of their Model UN teams, secretary generals, head delegates, or club officers and leaders at these teams, as well as our residential counselors. Our MUN mentors are going to be primarily responsible for providing feedback to each one of the students throughout the summer, and our residential counselors are going to be in charge of the after curriculum programming. So they're going to be responsible for doing all the evening activities, so things like game nights, scavenger hunts around campus, city nights, so on and so forth, including and even doing curfew checks as well to make sure that our students are safe in the evening. So these are just some of our individuals, and I'll be posting something in the description below after this video. So if you guys want to read more about our MUN mentors and residential counselors, you can read the bios on each and every one of them. So let's transition for just a minute, because I do want to talk about the skills that MUN helps develop. And a lot of these skills that we're going to be focusing on are leadership-based skills. A lot of these skills aren't necessarily directly taught in either high school or university or even beyond. And what I found from personal experience, as well as what a lot of us have found teaching Model UN throughout the years, is that Model UN as an activity helps focus on developing soft skills such as leadership through working on an activity where individuals have to think about representing a country and trying to solve some of the world's most complex issues. And so we do that at the Model UN Institute, and we've broken it down into 4 primary skills, which can be subdivided into many other skills. But again, what I'm going to start off with first and foremost is talking about the first skill here, which is public speaking. So this one is relatively self-explanatory, but when it comes to Model UN, it's very important to be able to speak publicly in front of a room. And you could be standing up and speaking in front of a room of anywhere from 15 to 300 individuals, depending on the size of the committee, depending on the size of the conference. Public speaking is an important skill, not just in Model UN, but also in life in general. And throughout the MUN Institute, what we try and do is we try and give our students frameworks for how to frame simple speeches, as well as feedback and advice on what to do in order to bring their public speaking to the next level in terms of their style and whatnot, in order to make sure that the presentation that the students are giving is brought up to the next level. Also, this one is extremely important whenever we talk about research. And this isn't always the most enjoyable aspect, at least from my perspective personally. I know that I always enjoyed standing up in front of a committee and speaking publicly. But when it comes to research, it's not necessarily the easiest skill to pick up. However, over the years, I'm really proud to say that Best Delegate has really worked hard at honing in on some of the some simple and effective ways and tools and methods in order to make research much easier, especially when we relate it to Model United Nations and we apply it to the grander scheme of just research in general. So research is one of the most fundamental skills. Anyone with a laptop today has the ability to research, laptop, phone, tablet, whatever it is. However, knowing how to sift through all of the information on the internet can be quite overwhelming. So one of the other major skills that we emphasize at the MUN Institute that will help take students to the next level, cut out hours and hours of their time spending researching, whether it's for research papers or whether it's for Model UN related activities. We teach you guys some very simple tips and tricks that can be implemented almost immediately after a little bit of practice, so that you guys can really sift through and understand and pinpoint what you really need to find out and learn for a Model UN committee or just research in general. The third skill we're going to be talking about is writing. And in Model UN, there's a bunch of different opportunities for writing. Not only do you need to know how to write something called a position paper, which is basically a summary of thoughts from a country's perspective on issues at hand, as well as a country's policy on a specific topic, as well as its proposed solutions. But you're also going to be writing a lot throughout a Model UN committee, and also just writing in general throughout life. And so what Model UN does is it allows us to take super complex topics like climate change, like world hunger, nuclear security, so on and so forth, and it provides us with a simplistic framework to break it down into subtopics that we can then break down further into subtopics, so that we can understand the intricacies of each possible solution to some of the world's most complex problems. And so when we add things like research and public speaking and all the other skills together, all of this can be culminated together with just practicing this skill of writing. Also, by improving your writing, it's another great way to improve basically your mental organization in order to understand how you present your ideas in front of a committee, either for public speaking or just how you're presenting your ideas to anyone in general. And so we found that writing is another fundamental skill that's really important to learn and practice and continually develop if you want to be good in Model UN, if you're applying for universities, if you're trying to write an essay for high school or for whatever it is. Writing is another one of those fundamental skills. And what we do at the Model UN Institute is we break down the different areas in which you need to be writing, either about your country's perspective on a certain topic or how to basically represent it in a resolution in committee, so that you are writing concisely and so that you're writing about substantive concepts and ideas. And the fourth big skill that I'm going to be focusing on right now that Model UN helps highlight under the umbrella, again, of soft skills and leadership skills is the idea of negotiation. So this skill in and of itself, just like the other three that were previously mentioned, is a very broad category. But what we try and do at the MUN Institute is we try and provide a framework and a way to think about how to negotiate with people with different perspectives who are all trying to act on their own self-interest and act in a way that's going to build consensus as opposed to just competition. So if I put this in the framework of a Model UN conference or committee, every single student attending a Model UN conference or committee is going to be representing a different country, okay? It could be anything like North Korea, the United States, Russia, South Africa, France. Whatever the country is, it's going to have a different perspective on the topic at hand, whether it be climate change, nuclear security, so on and so forth. And because of that, when it comes to entering into a Model UN committee, it's very difficult to be able to try and build consensus with people who maybe have completely opposite views or seemingly opposite views. So one of the most important leadership skills that we focus on teaching at the camp and that we focus on providing feedback for our students, negotiation. How to get your ideas across, but more importantly, listen to your other fellow delegates, other individuals who are going to be represented, and make sure that you can establish a dialogue and find solutions to the world's most complex issues together. And what we found is that if you can apply these techniques in a Model UN committee, then this can be applicable in a lot of other areas in life, because this is a fundamental leadership skill when it comes to working on projects and working on teams. And so I could go on the topic of negotiation for a long while, but I'll basically close it out by talking about this very briefly. Here at Best Delegate, we have a motto that the best delegate brings out the best in other delegates. And that's because we really believe in empowering others. And one of the big tenets that we focus on in terms of bringing out the best in others is through our ability to negotiate and collaborate with our fellow peers, our superiors, and those who may be working for us or under us. Also, what we do at each level of the MUN Institute is we have a final conference every single Friday. There's also an awesome parent open house. So for any parents listening right now, if you're going to be in the city where the MUN Institute is happening for your child, we encourage you to come out for the final conference. It's happening on Friday, sometime between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. You get to see your children in action, practicing all of the research, writing, negotiation, and public speaking skills that they've been developing throughout the previous week. minute to talk about how college views Model UN, because I think this is important to frame this concept in the bigger scheme of things, because I imagine most of the individuals watching this video or who will watch it in the future are either trying to apply to college or trying to use Model UN as a way to help them with their resume, to make them seem to help them stand out as candidates when applying for university. And so first and foremost, Model UN can help you guys impress your admissions officers. Okay, so this is something that's pretty huge, pretty important. One of the things that admission officers are looking for are these examples of learning and leadership. Okay, and you guys can demonstrate these qualities through Model UN, and you can do it in numerous ways. Some of the examples we have right here is through winning awards in committee, running conferences, chairing committees, as well as training your club. Basically being involved as an officer in an organization at the high school level, middle school level, so on and so forth, is going to give you a lot of opportunities, not just to learn about how to work with individuals, work on your public speaking, research, writing, negotiation, but also work on those leadership skills that are going to be important in university and beyond. And what we found is that a lot of our MUN Institute alumni have gone on to succeed, and a lot of them thank Model UN as being one of the primary factors that help them develop these leadership skills and this love for learning. And so some of our seniors over the past year have been accepted to some great schools like Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Columbia, Georgetown, so on and so forth. And another reason we think that this has been super helpful is that a lot of these MUN Institute alumni are students who have been taking classes at the universities, such as Harvard, such as Georgetown University, UCLA, so on and so forth, and also experience what it's like to just live on campus and experience that atmosphere. And so I want to highlight really briefly a couple of individuals who have been through the Model UN Institute, some of our alumni. The first one here is Chea-Mun, who's a 12th grader from Malaysia. And so what she said is that the MUN Institute exceeded her expectations. Not only did she learn about North American procedure and built leadership tactics, she was also immersed in the environment with so many like-minded individuals. And she shared endless memories and made newfound friendships. Chea-Mun also worked on the media team this past year and has been a fantastic supporter of Best Delegate. Another one being Rebecca. She's a rising sophomore currently at Harvard. But before she ended up getting into Harvard, she was a MUN Institute alumni years and years ago. She started off as a sophomore in high school doing Model UN. She attended MUN. And basically through doing Model UN, it inspired her to continue pursuing leadership skills, to become the club vice president, and then also eventually class president and valedictorian of her class. This culminated and allowed her to get into Harvard University, along with other things, including her hard work. And last year, we had the pleasure of having Rebecca staff the MUN Institute. Another brief thing I want to touch on is some quick tips about college essays and interviews for anyone considering this for the future. Model UN can help you with these personal essays and interviews you guys will be writing, because it's not just enough to put down the awards you've won at conferences or other little credentials for your college applications. You also want to be able to communicate your success in a personal narrative. Now, I focused on this topic much more in depth on previous webinars, so I'm not going to go too in depth with it right now, because I do want to talk about our program locations, where we're going to be this summer, and also get to introducing Ibrahim here in just a moment. But to give you guys an overview of some of our program locations, this summer we're going to be located in southwestern Texas. We're going to be in Washington, D.C., Georgetown University. We are going to be at Harvard in Boston, and then we're also going to be at UCLA in Los Angeles, California. And so you see a few of the pictures of some of the cities we've been in, as well as us this past summer, or a few summers ago actually, where we were at Washington, D.C. for the 4th of July. We're actually going to be in Washington, D.C. again for the 4th of July. So anyone interested in signing up for that week from July 2nd to the 8th, if you guys are signing up as residential students, you'll have the opportunity to go see the fireworks at the Georgetown waterfront and to experience some of DC. We also have a weekend trip available the weekend before that. So anyone interested in seeing some of the sites of Washington, DC, some of the monuments and Smithsonian's, please feel free to check out that information. We also have very different program types for different levels depending on your age. So for middle school students, we have a junior diplomat program for 11 to 13-year-olds. This program is available at Georgetown University in DC and Boston at Harvard University as well. We also have an advisor institute for those who are 21 and up who are looking to either lead their Model UN teams, looking to interact with and meet other Model UN advisors, or just in general hone their Model UN skills. And then our high school programs, we have a very diverse range of different programs depending on your level of experience, ranging from level 1 diplomat, which focuses primarily on how to participate in any Model UN conference, really emphasizing those fundamental research, writing, debate, public speaking, and negotiation skills. Level 2 ambassador program, which brings out the best in our students by teaching them the nuances of those leadership techniques, takes it this next step above just the fundamentals of MUN of Model UN. And so in order to attend the level 2 ambassador program, you need to have attended at least 2 previous Model UN conferences, have those conferences of experience under your belt. Level 3 crisis, focusing on a slightly different skill set, more on impromptu speaking, thinking critically and creatively and innovatively to situations that are constantly evolving. And then level 4 secretary general, which is geared towards student leaders who are going to be the club presidents or officers of their own Model UN team, as well as individuals who are looking to learn how to chair their own conference and just understand information about how to work on recruiting for their team, working with their high school's admissions office, or administration, excuse me, how to raise funds for their team, so on and so forth. And so again, the Model UN Institute daily trainings on research, writing, debate, negotiation with a full day simulation on Friday. And so just so you guys are aware, anyone listening to this, we have extended our deadline to June 1st. So anyone listening right now, I'll be showing you guys the code and talking about how to enroll in just a minute. And then we'll be getting to introducing Ibra briefly. But again, we do have the deadline extended to June 1st. However, spots are filling up. And if a program has filled up, then we will be closing it down at a first come, first served basis. One of our programs in Texas has already filled up. So again, guys, I just want to give you the quick heads up. So for enrolling, remember our programs are almost full. To register and enroll, click on the link in the description. I will be dropping this link right after the video goes live. You'll need to provide your payment information, obviously, and don't forget the discount code WEBBY2017. Save yourself $50. Go buy yourself a nice dinner or something else that is equally worth $50, or just save the $50. Put it towards your college funds. That's another great idea. And again, so here's that information. The code expires on Memorial Day. And again, remember that June 1st deadline, but this code is WEBBY2017. So make sure you write that down. And now that we're getting to that point in time, I'm going to take a brief break so we can get Ibrahim on the line with us. So if you guys can stand with me for just a minute, what I would like you guys to do as I'm getting situated, as I'm closing this out right here, is we are going to be answering your questions after we introduce Ibrahim. So I'm going to stop my screen sharing right now. And so anyone listening right now, please sit tight. We're going to need about a couple minutes, and we'll be getting Ibrahim on the line. All right, Ibrahim says he is ready. So I'm going to be sharing this with his Gmail, and he'll be joining us momentarily. Also, guys, I'm going to be checking to see if there are any questions. If you guys have shared any questions, I would love to have them on here. So let me pause this really quick as I'm going on. Okay, hey, Aisha, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, I see your question right there. And Jenny. Awesome. Yeah, Jenny, that's a great question as well. We're going to get to these questions at the very end. We're going to meet Ibrahim really quick. So guys, if you do have any other questions, please type them into the live chat. Also, John Fernandez, I see your question about level 4 Secretary General. I also saw that you enrolled just the other day. So yeah, we'd love to answer some more questions about the level 4 Secretary General course. If you have more specific questions, I would encourage anyone listening right now and participating to put those specific questions in, so we can answer them to the best of our ability. All right, and Ibrahim should be getting on in just a minute or so. So guys, just sit tight. If you guys are listening right now, again, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys got something out of this webinar. This will be posted live after the fact, or this will be posted and it will be up after the fact. It's being shot live right now. And I do believe, Ibrahim, is that you?
Aaron, how's it going?
Hey, Ibrahim, it is going very well. How are you doing right now, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, dude. We haven't talked in a while. It's great to hear your voice again.
Wow. Yes, this is very true. Let me pause for just a minute for anyone listening right now. Ibrahim, what is the time right now in your time zone? Currently, it's 8:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I think it's a slightly different time where you're at in the world right now, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I actually live in Istanbul, so right now it's 3:09 a.m. So I need to make sure not to be too loud so as not to wake anyone up around me. But yeah, it's a little late, but you know, all for the webinar, all for Best Delegate, my man.
Hey man, thank you so much for being able to join us, especially at this crazy hour for you in Istanbul. But I hope you're not too exhausted. What I would really love to do is I'd love to have you introduce yourself as one of our program managers for this summer, who will be working with all of our students and also meeting a lot of the parents and families who are going to be around. And then we'll have a brief conversation before we get to a few of our questions from those individuals who are dropping those comments in the live section. So could you do us a favor and introduce yourself for everybody listening right now, please?
Of course. My name is Ibrahim Al-Qazzaz. I'm an Egyptian American living in Istanbul. I grew up in Egypt, but I also have an American passport and an American accent, so that comes in handy a lot. I have been doing Model UN since I was about 13, 14 in university, studying international relations in Istanbul. I've done MUN all around the world. I've gotten to visit a lot of countries with Best Delegate and on my own, including going to India and teaching MUN there, going to Korea and teaching MUN there, going to Qatar, Geneva, London, a lot of countries in Europe. And it's a lot of fun to do Model UN as a delegate, as well as to go and teach it in all these different places. What else? I have other interests as well, including, for example, filmmaking. I love making films and I love talking about filmmaking. I also love to, I like to dabble in a little bit of performance, like performing poetry or performing some stand-up comedy and things like that. So I have a lot of interests within MUN and outside of MUN as well as I have a big passion for teaching. So Model UN and my passion for teaching really come together. And I've worked with Best Delegate for the last few years, including going to be like an MUN mentor 2 years ago. And then last year I was a program manager, and this year I'm a program manager again during the summer.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. There's a ton. I would love to get to all of it. I know we only have about 15-20 minutes left in this webinar, so we will make sure that there's time for questions. But something that I want to hone in on really quick is that you were the Secretary General for a very particular conference recently. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that conference was and what it was all about?
Of course. It was an incredible experience. It's the highlight of my year personally, where I got to be the Secretary General, which, if anyone doesn't know what Secretary General means, it's like the head of a conference, of a very big conference in New York. I was actually like a big part of it actually happened in the UN headquarters at the actual General Assembly. And that General Assembly hall is where like heads of government go and speak there. And we as students were able to take over that space and get to actually simulate what the United Nations does. That's in a conference called WIMAN, Wafuna International Model UN. And that conference is actually supported and sponsored by a UN organization, which is Wafuna. And we had over 800 participants. It was an incredible experience. Students from all around the world all of them there to experience MUN in a very new and different way, where they're actually in the seats of those people who make those kinds of decisions, as well as they themselves simulating a different type of MUN that is closer to the real live UN procedures.
Awesome. That's really cool, dude. One of the things that I got to do, and for anyone listening right now, either just joining us or who isn't aware of who I am, my name's Aaron again. I'm currently living in DC, but I did happen to be able to make a trip up to New York City for whenever this conference was going on. So Ibra, I got to see you speak at the UN, at the podium, at the official podium, and give a speech. Did you give a speech for opening ceremonies at the beginning of the conference, or did you only get to give a speech at the very end there?
No, actually, I gave 2 proper speeches in the opening ceremonies, and then in the closing ceremonies, at the end of the conference, we didn't have too much time, so I made it a smaller, little just hello and everything. But I have
a quick fun fact for everyone listening. This is a fun fact about Ibrahim as well. Currently, for speeches given at the United Nations on the floor of the UN General Assembly, Ibrahim is 1 for 3 in terms of taking selfies in front of hundreds of high school students and dozens of advisors. So I thought that was pretty funny. Whenever you
I think the selfie is an important staple of our generation. I thought it should be represented up there at the UN. So,
yeah, it's true, because one of the things I want to highlight really quick and see if you want to touch on briefly, Ibra, is that when we're thinking about this concept of Model UN, we get a lot of individuals from around the world doing it for a lot of different reasons. Some of them are looking to do it for developing their leadership skills. Some of them are looking to do it with their friends in high school, or they want to do it competitively in university, or with their friends in university, getting some travel under their belt. Some of them are doing it for change. What do you think, for you, Ibra, was one of the biggest reasons that you decided to do Model UN, and why you continue to do Model UN?
Well, at Best Delegate, we always love to talk about like the 3 main things that we want delegates to come out of from a conference, from a camp, which would be either confidence or community or change. Either doing Model UN to get some confidence in yourself, or doing Model UN to create a community around you, or doing Model UN to actually institute change into the world. And for me, all 3 of those things have happened over the course of the 7 years. At the beginning, it was more about confidence, where I was going to this conference for the first time where people were not annoyed by how much I talked, but actually encouraged me to talk more. You know, I was a very talkative kid, so it worked really well in that area, where like my usual sense of wanting to debate with people fit in very easily into Model UN. And then actually like grew a huge community around me, at first in Egypt in my local high school, and then around the world now through Best Delegate, through organizations like Online Model UN, through FUNA, and all those things. And then last year, being a Secretary General, that gave me like an ability to actually institute change, in which I was able to grow the MUN community and reach out to other people, as well as now being able to teach around the world in different places. I get to do that. So right now it's about change, but it's really developed throughout the years from confidence community to change.
That's awesome. No, and I think that's great. I think something that I want to highlight about you specifically is because you've been doing Model UN for so long and in so many different areas, you've had the ability to see the idea of Model UN and how it can be a transformative experience for individuals. And I know, like me personally, I never would have, well, I can't say never, but I doubt that I would have traveled all the way across the world for my first job outside of my undergraduate degree to South Korea had I not done an activity like Model United Nations. And I'm a homegrown Floridian. So I'm used to the nice, lovely weather, Disney World, and all that other great stuff that Florida is known for. But I think it's super cool that doing Model UN, you get to meet people in this global network, right? And so, I mean, you just mentioned some of the places you've been, you know, being an Egyptian American living in Istanbul. I know you were in England just a few months ago, for example. And then could you just highlight, I guess, for us, basically some of the differences or some of the interesting things you've noticed doing Model UN in different locations, whether it's in the United States, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in Asia, Is there anything that you could like highlight for us that you think would be worthwhile sharing?
Definitely. I mean, the simplest idea is that if you ever go and do Model UN in Europe after having done Model UN in high school in the States, they actually use a completely different procedure. And the reason for this, if you know a little bit about the history of Model UN, and I've been studying up on this last couple of years, but the history of Model UN is that it started as this independent activity in the United States. And suddenly all these other universities, all these other places started picking up on this independent activity. But each place that tried to do an activity, there wasn't like a guideline for how to do this. There wasn't a guideline, oh, this is how the UN operates. So all these different places started doing Model UN, but they started actually creating the different rules that come into play. And of course, this affects the actual learning outcomes that you get from doing Model UN in different places. Because, for example, if you do it in Simon, which is the biggest high school MUN in Europe, then you're doing Model UN in...
And where's Simon happening at?
Simon is in The Hague in the Netherlands, the Hague International Model UN. And if you do Model UN there, there's actually, they're very much against awards, and it's very much resolution based, which means your focus for most of the conference is on writing a good resolution. And then if you do it in the United States in something like MUN that you mentioned previously that Rebecca went to, which is the North, which I believe is the, can you remind me the name of
American Invitational United Nations? It's Georgetown University's high school conference, yeah.
Exactly. And if you go to MUN, for example, the conference there is much more debate-based. So it's much more about being able to formulate a strong debate and create good negotiation. There's still writing resolutions in both of them. There's still debate in both of them, but the focus is very different and the learning outcomes become very different as well, I think.
So I think you touch on some really interesting points, and I've noticed that some of our questions in the comments right now, so please keep them coming if you guys are still in the live chat, because we'll be getting to them in just a minute. But you mentioned this idea of difference in learning objectives and also in terms of competition, and how Model UN is this independently run organization that's different almost anywhere you go. And I can attest to that as well, having traveled from my experience doing Model UN throughout primarily North America. And even though we do have a relatively standard procedure, there's different values and different objectives that are talked about and discussed at every single different location. And so not only is procedure slightly different if you're in Washington, D.C. at, say, MUN's conference, Georgetown, but it's different if you're at Harvard, if you're on the West Coast out UC Berkeley or UCLA. And it just varies just depending on where you're at. And also the value of what awards are. And so what I want to transition to in just a minute here, Ibra, since we only have about 7-8 minutes left, is I would love to get to a few of these questions and basically share some of our thoughts with those individuals who are on the live chat. Does that sound good with you?
Yeah, it sounds great. I see some of these questions myself. I think, yeah, they're very interesting.
Awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for some of these questions. I'll read it out for anyone who's not currently on the live chat or for anyone who's watching this in the future, and then we can go on from there. So Jenny Queen, I'm going to get to your question first. It says, I would like to know how long or how much time after each day camp our kids need to spend on preparing for the next day. So it sounds like you're talking about how much homework is done in the evenings every single day of the camp and how much preparation is required for the next day. And Ibra, I'm sure you can speak to this, but what I'm going to say is most of the homework that we assign is preparation for the next day. It'll be basically a few pages of reading on a certain topic, whether it's something, for example, like climate change or world hunger, just so the students have an idea of what to expect in the classroom the next day. We do provide a lot of time throughout the program in order to do your homework. So a lot of our students don't have any homework at the end of the day, and that's okay. And if students need more time or they want to spend extra time preparing for the next day's lesson, or for example, for the Model UN conference on Friday, they're more than welcome to work on that in the evenings. But I would say that for the most part, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., that's whenever most of the learning happens. That's whenever most of the preparation happens. So in the evenings for our residential students, or even in the evenings for our commuter students, they can focus more so on relaxing and meeting people who are attending the camp. Ibra, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add on that, being a program manager last year and working with the students in the classroom and also after hours.
Definitely. What I like to tell students is after 5 p.m., you should only spend an hour on any homework that's given to you, and after an hour, just hand in whatever you have. Because one of the key things that we teach in Model UN is how to like manage your time well, because Model UN is an activity that doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens while you're going to high school, while you're doing all these other activities. So we want to teach you to do these skills, to incorporate these skills faster and faster, so that you're able to do them easily and incorporate it into your actual real life. So that's the one skill that we want to also help students to do in the future as well.
Yeah, I think you touched on something important, which is when it comes to these really complex issues, there are literally leaders in the real world who are spending their entire lives studying these topics and thinking about these issues. And so when it comes to the middle school level or the high school level especially, we're trying to give you guys the initial introduction into these concepts. And so the goal isn't to have you guys working all the time. It's to have you guys learning about these concepts and thinking about how to apply them. Because again, managing your time and making sure that you're not over-investing it is a super important skill in high school and even beyond. And so I see, Ms. Strickland, one of your questions you asked towards the beginning was, can you please talk about middle school freshman beginner? And so what I want to mention very briefly is I did talk about this a little bit during the webinar, and Ibra, if you have any additional comments, that'd be awesome to hear. But basically what we're focusing on in our middle school programs and also for beginners is our goal with our junior diplomat program and level 1 diplomat program for high school students is to basically introduce you to the fundamental skills of Model UN so that you can participate anywhere within North America, because the standardization throughout North America in terms of procedure tends to be about the same. And so those main skills in terms of leadership that we're developing on to create a foundational understanding for Model UN revolves around research, writing, public speaking, negotiation, and parliamentary procedure, which is another aspect of Model UN in general. Ibra, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. It's also like these skills are actually very transferable skills. So even if a student goes into the beginner program and finds out, oh, this isn't really my cup of tea, I don't really want to do Model UN, they can still take that public speaking, that writing, so on and so forth, and incorporate it into whatever other activities or interests that they might have.
Yeah, that's awesome. Another question I want to get to here from John. And John, I know that you recently enrolled yourself into the Level 4 Secretary General program, and you were asking if we could share some specific examples from what to expect in the Level 4 Secretary General course. So I mentioned this very briefly because, again, for that level, we are focusing on a bunch of different skills. It's primarily focused at the club leadership level, so how to basically build your team, manage your team, run your own conference, and basically give back to those individuals within your organization. To give you more of a specific example, and Ibra, feel free to either jump on this, add another one, or we can just pass on to the next question after this. But one of the skills that I think is fundamental is learning how to chair effectively. Because as Ibrahim said earlier, as I was talking about, there is a bunch of small variations depending on where you do Model UN, either in North America or throughout the world. And what we've done at Best Delegate is we've basically simplified the process, and we also have streamlined how we teach how to chair a Model UN conference. And when you standardize that process, so you know how to run through debate at the highest level, and make it simple for not just you as a chair who will be going out to chair your Model UN team or maybe a Model UN conference, but make it simple so that you can explain it to other individuals if you're chairing in front of a group of whether it be 15 or 300 students, depending on the size of the conference. We break it down so that you understand how to run through procedure, how to tally votes, how to make sure that you're explaining everything and making sure that everybody is aware of what's going on so that you can basically help the students focus on what's truly important, which is really engaging with these complex issues like climate change, world hunger, nuclear security, so on and so forth, so that you can make it, you can facilitate their learning as much as possible. So Ibra, do you have anything you wanted to add on to that, or any other specifics for the Level 4 Secretary General course?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of MUNI is getting to actually interact with students who have done Model UN before and are very interested in how to keep doing Model UN and encourage the students around them to do Model UN. So we really help students in figuring out how to actually create a club in your school or actually run a club in your school and become those, leaders and those people that are needed to grow the MUN community, whether it's in their schools or in their region. And I think it's one of my favorite programs that we have at MUNI. Definitely.
I think something to add on to that for our level 4 Secretary General students, they tend to be some of the most advanced students in Model UN in general, and they go on to either lead some of the best clubs around the United States or around the world, and they give back these skills to their communities. They're really embodying the skills of bringing out the best in other delegates or bringing out the best in their team. And so I really enjoy interacting with the level 4 Secretary General students every year because they are a unique set of students that have typically been through a lot of Model UN. They have a lot of experience under their belt, and they're also interested in giving back to the community. I think that's huge. So anyway, I do want to move on because we do have a couple minutes left. Akil, I see that you asked a ton of questions. I see that you say you are an 8th grader. You're from Virginia. Awesome. I currently live right outside of Virginia, which is really cool. We're practically neighbors. Awesome. One of the things you ask is, should I participate in more national conferences to face more competitions because you've won Best Delegate in the past and it doesn't seem like a challenging activity to you anymore? And something I want to mention briefly is that Model UN is much more than just a competition. There's a lot of things that you can work on, not just in the moment, not just, for example, for a paper award, first, second, third place in a committee or something like that, but there's also a lot of value in the skill sets that you're developing. And so, Ibra, I'm sure you can speak to this as well, and I'd love to hear you speak on it. But I think your premise here about Model UN just being about awards is a little bit wrong. And I think one of the things that the MUN Institute would help instill in you is that Model UN as activity is about collaboration and consensus building. It's much less about an individual succeeding, and it's much more about learning how can you interact with your fellow peers or thinking about it from a high level for other countries and collaborate and work together in order to help everyone succeed. So when you get good enough at Model UN, and it sounds like you've had a bit of success under your belt, I think you need to start thinking not just how can I succeed, right? But how can you help give back to your community and allow other people to succeed, not just competitively in terms of winning awards, not just competitively in terms of winning awards, but also in terms of building their skills of research, writing, public speaking, negotiation, and leadership. Those are just some initial thoughts. And Ibra, do you have anything you want to throw onto that?
Definitely. Of course, Model UN really is about expanding your horizons. It's definitely a huge part of Model UN, is that when you're first doing it, if you do it in a very small space, in a very localized area, it might seem to be a little bit easier to do it or might seem to be a little bit simpler. But then at that point, you have so many opportunities, like Aaron talked about, where you can give back to the community and really create a good infrastructure for your delegates to learn about Model UN in your community, which means like just going to your school and talking to your teachers about let's start an MUN club. That is a huge thing that can really change the lives of the students that are around you and your friends and make MUN a bigger thing and a bigger deal in your area. But then if you also want to get more challenged in terms of you want to have more of that experience of debating with people and getting that ability to really like rub elbows with the bigger MUN people in the area, then I definitely recommend going to conferences that are outside of your local area as much as you can. I mean, I can attest to the fact that I've been to Model UN very much outside of where I live, having started in Cairo, and now that I live in Istanbul, and I've been to conferences all around the world. And actually for the last 2 years, I haven't traveled except for MUN. So it's become a huge part of my life, and there's definitely so many opportunities for you to spread your wings and try Model UN out in all these different places. Also, I think Akil was talking about whether these classes would be effective. We do Model UN Institute with staff that are extremely experienced delegates. And we're always sitting down with these staff and they're always getting this curriculum. And they look at all this curriculum and say, I wish someone had taught this to me earlier. because there's so much of it that you can still learn from. Until today, there's things that we talk about in Model UN Institute that I'm still learning for the first time, even though I've been doing Model UN for 7-8 years. So it's definitely worth attending the Model UN Institute to learn so much more about what MUN can be, as well as learn so many more skills that you can incorporate into your MUN life, as well as your life in general.
Yeah, I think you touched on some important points, and also just mindsets and perspective that's important for Akil, for you to understand, and also anyone else who's like Akil, who's self-taught in Model United Nations, and considering, like, what would be the value of this. And I would say, whether you're enrolling for the MUN Institute, or whether you're just participating at your local high school, or you're trying to start your own Model UN team, one of the most important things to growing and developing as an individual in high school, really embodying those skills that colleges are looking for, leadership and learning. Ways to go about that is you need to get feedback from people who aren't just your peers, your equals, but also people who have been through what you will be going through. And what I mean by that specifically is people like Ibrahim, for example, have traveled throughout the world doing this activity of Model United Nations. And some of the skills that he's learned, he's realized that there's different ways to do Model UN, depending on if you're in North America, if you're in Europe, if you're in Asia. But there's also so many different little nuances that can be learned every single time you do Model UN. And one of the things we focus on at the MUN Institute is how can we provide you guys with feedback to help you improve at every single skill level. So how can we improve your research? How can we improve your public speaking? How can we improve your writing? How can we improve your negotiation? All of these skills are things that can't just be mastered in a day or a week, or mastered by yourself, because the nature of these skills are social skills where you're interacting with other individuals. And so it's super important to be able to get feedback and hear from people who have been through what you've either gone through or what you may go through in order to take you to the next level. But with that being said, I do want to wrap up really quick because we are a little bit over time. Ibra, I don't know if there's any other questions on here that you wanted to get to really quick, or any other last minute thoughts before we close this out.
No, I just wanted to thank you again, Aaron, for having this really cool webinar. It's a really cool chance to get to be able to speak with you and get to field some questions about the Model UN Institute. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, Ibrahim, thank you so much for attending. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And again, just for everybody listening right now, whether you're listening live or you're listening in the future, I just want you to know, again, if you have any questions about the MUN Institute, please feel free to email me. It's mun@bestdelegate.com. I'd love to chat with you guys, help you guys get enrolled for our summer programs. Also, don't forget the promo code. Again, our deadlines have been extended to June 1st, but we only have a few spots left. So if you do want to enroll, the enrollment code is WEBBY2017. Again, that was in the presentation, and I'll be posting it in the description after this video. Again, thank you guys for everyone who participated in the live event. Thank you so much for the questions. If you guys do have further questions, we hopefully will be doing more webinars in the future as we get closer to summer. We'll be doing these webinars if you guys keep throwing questions at us, so please feel free to keep doing that. Again, Ibra, thank you so much for being able to participate and introduce yourself as one of the program managers for this summer. I'm super stoked for this summer, and we're really excited to have all of you guys, whether you can attend our programs or whether you're just coming through and watching us online. So again, thank you so much, Ibra, for being here, and thank you guys. Take care, and this is Aaron and Ibra signing off. Bye.
Bye.